Hello and welcome to the Comic Conspiracy episode 204 for the week of April 6, 2015. My name is Ryan Higgins, who is here with me this week.
Brock Sager. Bryce.
Oh, yeah, I guess you can go next, Bryce. Hey, Bryce is back.
Hey,
welcome back, Bryce.
And Charlie,
and very special guest returning once again.
Hi, it's Lane.
Hello, Lane. How are you?
I just want to let everyone know that Bryce looks like he's had a second kid.
He seems okay. His hair's
haggard and tired.
His hair's as awesome as always, so it's not like all smashed.
It's not as awesome as it normally is.
It looks fine. It looks fine. Yeah.
Thank you, Ryan. I never knew that I'd...
Well, usually your hair is very perfect. If you were like...
Is it now?
It looks fine. If you were like second...
That's a no.
Like if it was a Brock's second kid, it would be like, bleh, just, all in front of your face or something like that.
Got it.
Or does it just naturally hold that pose now?
No.
I think he does it for aerodynamics while he's playing soccer.
Yeah, I do.
Very true. Kid okay? Everything good?
The kid's great. She's,
excellent.
what is she today? She's about 16 or 17 days old.
Okay.
She's exhausting, but great in a great way. She sleeps a lot, but like when she does wake up, she'll like wake up really loudly and whimper or whine or cry, and it wakes me up even though I get to go back to sleep. So,
how many comic book related baby clothes have you put her in yet? None.
0.
Wow.
By this time, JT, my son, was already in tons of comic book related clothes, but yeah, Kelly's had more of a hold on this one.
Okay.
For some reason,
I can't win them all.
She'll get her turn. Besides, comic books are so misogynistic, Ryan.
Oh my
God,
there's all sorts of great comic things for girls.
I put my daughter in comic book related stuff.
I actually can't wait to. I just don't have it. She's 16 days old. She'll have her turn.
15 days too late, man. Come on, day one.
My son was decked out today in virtually all Batman. The only thing Batman that wasn't on him was his pants, and he kept saying, "I want Batman pants."
He had a
Your son
Batman
is a wise
hat
man.
and Batman shoes and shirt.
You were jealous, weren't you?
This is a nice hat. It's a cool hat.
oh, kids have all the great stuff. They can get themed socks and underwear.
This coming from the guy
shoes.
that's wearing a nice Doctor Who polo.
But it looks weird when adults do it. It's like you can get away with it sometimes, but
I tried to bust out my 90s X-Men tighty whities on date night, and Kelly was not having it. She was like, "This date night is over."
If you had done a diaper, it would have gone a lot better.
does it just say, "I'm the best there is at what I do"?
No.
Are we going to start a clothing line now?
It says, "What happens to a toad when it's hit by lightning?"
Oh, well, Charlie, since apparently our thing now is being a week late for everything, since Toby's not here yet, or at all, apparently, we're going to talk about Emerald City Comiccon, which was now 2 weekends ago.
Yeah, we can be late for everything.
Yeah, you went there. How was it?
It was great.
Cool.
I always have
All
a
right,
lot of
moving
fun.
on. All right. So, no, I'm joking. Emerald City is always a big con, especially these last couple of years.
Yeah, it's definitely gotten to be pretty massive, and this year, especially with the new ownership, was no exception. They kept... it's one of those cons where, like, I looked at the list of the people going, and I went, okay, so their list should be about done. And then I check a few days later, and they've added, like, 5 or 6 more people. I'm like, okay, so now it should be done. A few days later, add 5 or 6 more people, and...
I mean, everybody goes to Emerald City now.
It's actually a weird thing where there's a lot of people who were there previous years who were not there this year, but, like... I always make it a point to go to like Art and Franco to see what they have on their table whenever they're at a con. Always hit up Jim Zub and
there's a lot of locals, Seattle, Portland area. So
a
lot of guys up there in Pacific Northwest.
Had some. So Jordan, Jess, and I go to like the burlesque show they showed there.
Hey now,
and
can we hear this?
Jeez. Yes, we can. And the intermission leading into the next act was the Rat Queens.
Like the band from the comic?
Yes, like 4 people, like directly out of the comic page.
As a band?
Like crazy accurate.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's neat.
Yeah, that was something very surreal.
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
Yeah. No, it's definitely different. It's not sort of like the... I kind of get stuck between I love sort of the size of San Diego and everything you can do there, but I also love some of the smaller cons where you can actually get some face time with creators. But in the smaller cons case, I always feel weird because it's like I go there for an hour or two and then I don't really feel like there's anything left for me to do.
Yeah.
Versus sort of the bigger ones, you kind of get swept up in there's way too many people to go do everything you want to do and see everybody you want to see, and lines get crazy. And Emerald City is sort of like the perfect spot between those two entities for me, because I can go up to Jim Zub and have a nice conversation with him, and I can go just sort of peruse the different things. And you have enough creators and enough stuff there that you can sort of do all this. They do still have a fair amount of like celebrity stuff, and I went to some of the panels on Saturday when I felt like sitting down. But it's in a lot of ways really about being able to interact with a lot of the creators on that more personal level you find at the smaller cons.
And you can still walk into a panel, right?
Yeah.
It's not like you have to
walk into a queue,
wait for 3 hours for a panel.
No, it's actually really kind of weird.
Yeah.
So their main panel hall where they have like their celebrity panels and stuff is pretty big, but it's also where they actually have you line up to go into like the showroom. So like between when they let people into the showroom, they have about a half hour to an hour to actually drag out all the chairs and set up the chairs and everything for the panels for the day. So that's a little weird and surreal, as like that room literally gets transformed between like 10 and when the first panel starts at like 11:30 or something.
It's weird.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I miss WonderCon being up here. I know when I was down there, it just felt like it is kind of leaning on the bigger side now, especially just lining up for panels, just the amount of people in the dealer room.
So that's one of the things that gets me about WonderCon is every year I look at the list of like comic creators and that stuff. It's not a very long list.
This year, especially, I know Lane, because you were there. You were not really at the convention. You were at the convention, but you weren't really at the convention in the way like you weren't doing like panels. You were just you did some floor. You were on the floor a bit, but
I was on the floor, half a day.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not, like you said, not many big draw names there this year. Almost no celebrities.
And next year, they're actually moving WonderCon to Los Angeles Convention Center for at least a year.
Which is probably going to be worse.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's nothing near it.
No. No hotels, no parking, no food, no nothing. With Anaheim, at least, you're right next to Disneyland, so there's hotels and parking and food everywhere. L.A. is downtown L.A., so...
And I did go to the Patrick Warburton panel.
Oh, nice.
That was awesome. And I did get out of that panel what I wanted to, and that's that they're still working on the Tick show. And
the Amazon one?
Yeah.
Nice.
So,
Bryce, you were going to say something?
I was just going to say, so I don't know, even though I spent half a decade down there going to school, I don't know the convention centers. Is one just... I thought that the LA one would be bigger without actually knowing anything about the actual...
I think it's smaller.
When I heard this, I assumed that it was because they were trying to big it up. They were trying to grow it, but it sounds like what you guys are saying that it's actually going to do less well.
Well, I think I think Anaheim is 60,000, 70,000, something like that.
The report is Anaheim's expanding next year.
Right.
So it's going to be under construction during the time that
maybe it's going up to 70.
Yeah. Oh,
but LA is only like 35 or 40,000 because Kamikaze's there, and right. I know that's. I mean, it does well, but it's not like WonderCon now. WonderCon is doing twice the numbers in Anaheim it was in San Francisco.
Damn it!
So
it just weirds me out because when it was in San Francisco,
with better guests in San Francisco, I think.
Yeah, that's what weirds me out. Is it's like the con got worse, but the attendance got better.
Yeah, way better. Yeah,
well, because of the population.
I don't know. I'm just excited at this point for Wizard World San Jose.
Yeah, and Big Wow. Hopefully this year will grow again.
Because we've been doing it 2 years now.
But
you've had the table there for.
I've had a table at every single one.
Oh, okay.
For 7-8 years now or something like that. Because it used to be in the tent across the stupid tent thing, and they moved it there. And then this is the 5th year at the convention center. 4th or 5th year at the convention center.
Sounds about right.
I think it's 4th. We did a couple years before. I think there's maybe 1 year that we didn't do the tent, but yeah, we did most of them. So,
well, 2 that I've been to.
Yeah, hopefully.
It grew exponentially in just the 2 years that I've been. At the
the first year was at the convention center. I mean, if they had 1,000 people,
it was just one of the kind of hall, like the kind of room
sections.
The first year, if they had 1,000 people, I'd be surprised. Last year, they were just shy of 10,000. So you could tell just how much it's expanding, which is great for San Jose. Hopefully, if they do 15,000 this year, 12,000, with Image so close, hopefully at least DC can come up. That's not a Marvel troll, Bryce. That is because Marvel is notorious for not doing conventions.
I didn't even give you a funny look.
You were going to. Where DC does do smaller conventions, Marvel is very difficult to get out to conventions. I don't even think, was Marvel even at WonderCon?
Nope.
Yeah.
Don't bother with the riffraff, in
WonderCon, and it's in Anaheim, but Disneyland's right. It's like, how the hell is Marvel not there? It's crazy. It makes no
but buy
sense.
your own, and this is, I would love to see them there, and this is only me defending them because they're my boys, and I think it's stupid that they're not there. But you said yourself over and over in previous podcasts about how they just do their own event because they get infinitely more press coverage, so why bother?
That's movie stuff. I'm talking like having Marvel at this point, what do they do?
I have no defense. It's stupid.
They do Emerald City, or not Emerald City. They do, I'm sorry, C2E2. They do New York. They do San Diego. Do they even do C2E2?
That's so funny. They do New York and not Anaheim.
Yeah.
That's
they're in New York, so I mean that makes sense.
Yeah.
And San Diego.
Yeah,
They may do like MegaCon.
They don't really do Emerald. Both DC and Marvel don't really do Emerald City. The closest you get is if a certain amount of good level creators from Marvel or DC are there, they might throw together an impromptu panel. But that's not like Marvel or DC throwing together a panel with a bunch. That's more the creators and working with Emerald City to kind of we'll do a panel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, there really wasn't DC at Anaheim this year, or WonderCon, because of the move.
Right.
They had creators, they had panels, but no actual...
no DC booth.
In some ways, that's one of the things that I really, really like about Emerald City and this kind of stuff is pretty much for the entire time I've gone to San Diego, it's always been, if you want to FaceTime with any sort of well-known DC creator... You have to wait till they're scheduled at the DC booth. You have to go through the lines. Their time is sort of filled up on panel after panel after panel. Versus when you go to these smaller cons, they might still have a panel, but when they're not at the panels, they're at their table, and it's not so regimented as you kind of get with both sort of DC and Marvel and stuff at Comic-Con. You just don't really have... Other than like image creators, you don't really have good name creators with like their own table.
Well, a lot of when I was at WonderCon last year, I mean, it must have not been in a Marvel panel. I want to say Mark Waid was at maybe IDW or something like that. I can't remember what it was, but he had a gigantic line. And then he was at his own table at Artist Alley, and he had a good sized line, but it was nothing like it was when he was at the booth for the publisher. So, yeah, you can sometimes score that way pretty easy.
Yeah.
Well, glad to hear Emerald City was good. WonderCon, there was no real news out of either of these conventions. I mean, that whole, we've talked about this endless times. News coming out of conventions is a thing of the past. That's not what they're there for anymore.
Well, I mean, the panel showed extra clips for those who went to Gotham, Flash, Orphan Black.
Some promo stuff.
They got some free swag. And
sure. They announced a Green Lantern Star Trek crossover from IDW and DC.
I'm hoping happens.
Which is cool. Maybe the biggest news of someone at the con mentioned that David Lynch isn't going to be doing Twin Peaks, and then he officially announced it on the site. And I don't know how WonderCon was involved with that. Must have been a panel or something. I don't know where that came from, but I mean that's big news. But it's not comic stuff, but different.
Well, I'll just say the only news for me was I talked to Dustin.
Yeah,
and he said they are working on a wave 2 of little Gotham toys.
Nice. Yeah, we sold out of those. Those did very well. Before we got a couple other things we're going to do this week. But before we do, I got a couple questions here from listeners that I actually want to answer. So we get through these, and then we get a little extra time here at the end of the episode to do a bunch of stuff. I had two very similar questions. One's from Mitchell,
hey Mitch,
Brooks' buddy, who's asking what new miniseries and ongoing books coming out of Secret Wars are you most looking forward to? And then we had one here from Screwhead45 on Twitter who asked,
"Hey, Screwhead45,"
who said, "Thoughts on the Convergence series and what chapters are you interested in?" Meaning like the little spin-off book. So with Secret Wars and Convergence, what books are you guys looking forward to?
I mean, just seeing the books that are coming out this week for Convergence, for me, it's kind of like a like another question's out this week, and I'm like, ooh, cool, a question. Yeah. I've been into the Flash, so the Flash
question by Rucka.
Yeah,
you got to say by Rucka.
I'm sorry. Reading some of these DC comics from before the New 52, I'm more entitled to want to read more of these kind of like little stories from those segments. Inclined, thank you. But like Titans comes out, I'm not a big Titans person, so to me that's not.
Well, which ones are you interested in? Question.
Batman and the Outsiders?
Yes.
That was a question?
Yes.
So I don't know all the official titles of some of these. Like, of course, I'm interested in the Parallax book. Of course, I'm interested in the Question book. I'm interested in the Speed Force book just because it's not necessarily because of the sort of point in time with Wally and his kids and everything, but just because I like the Speed Force. For the most part, all the ones that sort of recapture something that I was excited for at the time, those are the ones I'm really excited for. There's a lot of them, like as you said, the Titans one. I never got into that rendition of the Titans, but when they get to the one by Wolfman, is it Wolf? I don't know.
Which one? New Teen Titans?
The other Titans, not the one out this week. The new
New Teen Titans is the Marv Wolfman George Perez one. I mean, George Perez isn't doing the artist, Nicola Scott, but it's Marv Wolfman writing it.
Yeah.
Very excited for that. I'm very, very excited for that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, like, that's roundabout the stuff that I'm excited for. And the weirdest part, the way they're sort of setting up a lot of these, since it's sort of a part crossover with other universes and stuff, I kind of am dreading the crossover stuff and more excited for the return to these periods of time and these worlds.
Yeah.
Like, I'd be perfectly fine if it had nothing to do with the Convergence event other than a 2-issue miniseries set in those periods of comic time, basically.
DC tried this pre-New 52 and they had the, what was it called, Retroactive, where they did like a book, 70s, 80s, and 90s. This didn't do too hot. Convergence, so far, week 1 for the number 0 and at least pre-orders for all of month 1. Very strong here. I know there's a lot of talk, especially on the retailer forums, which, public doesn't have access to, but people very concerned about Convergence number 0, saying they weren't selling well. I hand sold the hell out of it. I did,
No, I don't not believe you.
Yeah. And most of the reviews coming back were pretty positive, and people, I was like, it's set up, but it's, it's interesting stuff. And I definitely pushed a lot of people on the miniseries and having now looked through all the issues this week, I'm glad I did, because these very well could have been complete waste of time, no point, just meaningless. They actually most of them this week alone look pretty good and actually pretty compelling. So I'm actually way more excited for these than I was even before.
It's funny. My only complaint with the issue 0 is I wish it didn't have the New 52 Superman in it.
Well, yeah. I think DC is going to step up their game with what I think Convergence was going to be a thing, and I think they're actually going to make it into a bigger thing than we realize. I think they're tweaking the story to actually make it an actual more big event with some sort of continuity repercussions coming out of it. Secret Wars obviously probably being a very big influence for them, because Secret Wars is going to, there's no question, dominate this summer. It's I put my orders in already, and my orders for number 1.
But the funny thing about Secret Wars is nobody knows what is going on.
That is true, but my orders
sometimes that helps.
Why would you say that? Yeah, why would you even rehash
Well,
that?
here's the thing. Legitimately, and this is not a Marvel troll, this isn't me trolling.
It is, though.
No, it is not. I've continued to talk to customers, and we had a nice gentleman here earlier today.
Dan from Michigan.
Yep.
Thank you, Dan.
Who bought us some pizza and everything, so all pizza and drinks is on him tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, he's awesome. And the very first thing he said is, he goes, I'm kind of interested in Secret Wars, but I don't know what it's about. I went online, I did research, and I'm like, I'm telling you, hardcore people on both sides are going to know what it's about. I think DC's done a better job of explaining what Convergence is to the general public. I think Secret Wars, we're just not close enough to it yet. We're on On Free Comic Book Day, I think everyone's going to understand. But as of right now...
Okay, so you're saying there's no problem.
Well,
you're
no,
saying
here's the thing.
it will be equally clear when the equivalent time comes.
Well, no, because I have to order this stuff now. You have to pre-order this stuff now. And a lot of people are going in very blind to what's going on. I made this comment. I can't remember if I mentioned this last week or not. I don't remember. And if I did, if I'm repeating myself, tell me. But when Grant Morrison did Final Crisis for DC, there was a lot of talk that DC really didn't know what Grant Morrison was doing. And you could tell with some of the crossover books, they kind of were like, well, we kind of know what's going on. But Morrison really was running the ship, and DC didn't know what was coming out the end. I think Marvel is having the exact same thing. Hickman is a very, very similar to Grant Morrison. Not the easiest writer to follow. You know, you really got to put your time into his stuff. He grabs bizarre random characters with very little introduction. He doesn't write traditionally. He writes in a very unique manner, much like Morrison. I think Marvel doesn't know what's coming out the back end of Secret Wars because I don't think Hickman's telling him. I think Hickman's playing this super close to the chest, just like Morrison does when he was with DC, which led to a bunch of editorial problems. And Hickman's done at Marvel after Secret Wars. That's it. He's not working for Marvel anymore, as far as I know. So I have a very strong feeling that Marvel's like, we're not telling you. The reason we're not telling you what's going on is because we actually don't really know. I bet they obviously know now, and especially the books that are all going to come out of Secret Wars. I mean, obviously, Marvel have some idea what Hickman's doing, but I guarantee you editorial is not on the same page as what Hickman's writing. I would guarantee you this. So that's why they're being very vague about what's coming.
Well, I mean, and it makes it difficult for stores to gauge in ordering and figuring out what they're...
See, a little bit. I mean, we've had a lot of pre-orders for Secret Wars stuff, and it's going to do well. Secret Wars #1 is my #2 comic of the year next to Star Wars #1. It's no question it's going to sell gangbusters. But, you don't want to know everything that's going to happen in a comic before it comes out. You want some surprise. You don't want to know everything. But, I think you kind of have to have some idea. I think with the New 52 DC was pretty upfront. With Convergence, they were pretty upfront. I think they're hiding a surprise, but I think we know the pitch. We know a little bit about Secret Wars. I don't think we know really what's coming after issue 1.
Dude, what? Okay.
With Convergence, we did.
Maybe we're just used to so many spoilers. I don't understand. Please explain to me, because I don't know.
Yeah.
What the fuck is so confusing about this? It sounds to me like the world is coming to an end with the convergence of all these universes.
Yep.
And the fucking world is going to end. And
Marvel and DC, or Marvel and Ultimate Marvel Universe smash into each other.
Yep. And then all of these battle worlds, battle worlds are created in these 3 different phases of this is what's happening now.
Okay, so stop. So that's the problem. DC, very upfront. Brainiac creates this world, takes bottled cities from different realities, put them all in the world. They fight. That makes sense. They're very upfront with this.
The way I like
how does that have anything to do with what I said?
No, but listen. Secret Wars. How do these worlds form? What's happening? The final days is before. What's war zones and battle world? What are those? What are the differences?
I mean, does that really fucking have an iota of I guess weight or gravity in your buying or interest in it?
It does. It's because
how does this world form? Does that influence any of your buying decisions?
It does, because here's what happens: we don't have Old Man Logan by Mark Miller and Steve McNiven, right? We have Mark Miller by Brian Michael Bendis, so that's an even trade, and Andre Sorrentino, which again, that awesome artist. So that's going to be a big book. Age of Apocalypse. X-Men 92.
Age of Apocalypse, Fabian
Nicieza. Yeah, but it's like, these aren't
Does anybody know how to pronounce that?
No, nobody does.
Fabian Nicieza.
Are we sure that it's Nicieza?
100%.
By the way, he favorited a tweet of mine.
I saw. Nice.
I'm going to wear that like a badge of honor for the rest of my life.
A lot of these tie-in books, much like Convergence, are not by the original creators. They're very weird standalone books. But with Convergence, we have an idea. These are plucked from time by Brainiac, put on the planet. That makes sense.
Dude,
What is
the
this
exact
world?
same fucking thing?
There is like this X-Men 92 world, this world where Civil War has continued forever, this world of Old Man Logan where that's the world forever. Like, it doesn't really, those don't click the way the DC ones do. We have a history of DC having these alternate universes. And man, I don't want to keep going on about this because like every episode is this. Marvel's history of alternate realities is not the same as DC's. It makes sense with DC. There is no Days of Future Past like alternate world. There is an occasional timeline they've gone to, but they acknowledge that it doesn't. That's not a thing. There is no Civil War alternate reality. There is no Planet Hulk alternate reality. So what are these?
Exiles?
Yeah, good example.
I mean, Exiles jumps around, and Marvel has them. I mean, they have 2099, and I guess Days of Future Past is like an alternate future. It's not an alternate current reality. That's what I'm saying.
But dude, I mean, Earth 616, I mean, Marvel is steeped in this not often talked about fact that they have infinite universes. By the way, not fucking 52 of them. They have
Marvel has a lot of infinite universes in their What If line. Their What If line has
what the fuck in their every normal line?
No, because the alternate realities come out of the What If books. What if Planet Hulk kept going? What if Civil War kept going? That's how like they were doing a slew of those right after.
No. Age of Apocalypse, for example.
Age of Apocalypse is an alternate reality. Absolutely.
It is an alternate reality.
Sure, so that one works.
And the Captain Britain Corps, and I forget what the fuck their castle was called,
yeah.
but it has doors to every one of the other Earths,
right?
Which are not all what ifs.
Right.
They are like, they exist.
No, but what Ryan's talking about is the what ifs are what seems to be coming out of, that's what they're talking about.
So,
what if Civil War kept going?
So I think in general, the problem here is when you look at the description of most of the books, not all the books, like X-Men 92, perfect example of one that's easy to kind of latch onto and understand they could pick up any point in time within the events that happened there. But when you say we're going to have a Civil War book, you immediately think of the 616 Civil War event.
Right.
And this is not that. And
here's how Marvel could fix it. They release a paragraph that says, the Beyonder has grabbed sections of the Marvel Universe throughout time and space and stuck them on a planet together to have them fight. Answered.
Trademarked.
That question is answered. I know exactly what Battleworld is.
Dude, what the fuck? So you're saying that your whole like whiny spiel about how Battleworld and Secret Wars is so confusing could be summed up by a single sentence from Marvel?
Yeah, and they haven't, and they won't, and because I don't think they know.
And you think that single sentence would have an iota of difference in your sales?
Yeah, it would. It absolutely would.
Do you think you would sell more or less? Old Man Logans because of that sentence?
No, some of those books, like I said, are going to do fine. But Convergence, I had a clear pitch to customers. Brainiac comes down, bottled cities from time and space, from different realities, from different points of time, put them on a planet, they fight. That's Convergence. And I guarantee you Secret Wars is Beyonder has grabbed different parts of reality from time and space, put them on a world, and now they're fighting. That's all Marvel needs to say. Why won't they say it? Because is it because the secret is Beyonder's behind it? Of course Beyonder's behind it. It's fucking Secret Wars. Who else is going to be behind it?
Nick Fury.
Anyway, dude.
Anyway.
Fury and Xavier.
I'm excited.
Nick Fury and Xavier.
I am excited for various Secret Wars miniseries. And we talked about this a few weeks ago. I don't want to spend this whole podcast talking about this. We got other stuff to talk about.
All right, do we have another question? Do you want to have answered?
No, I didn't get to answer that question, by the way.
Oh, yeah, what are you looking for?
Extinction Agenda.
Everything.
Or, sorry, Extinction Agenda. Everything.
This is baby brain.
I'm excited about everything except for the Angela book, the one written by Cy Spurrier, and the one drawn by Art Adams.
So you need
two of those three are
X-Men
books, by the way.
In his box, so he can at least see it.
I got a question that's very easy to answer here. This is from Darfox8. Go follow him. He streams on Twitch, twitch.tv/Darfox8, I think. He plays all sorts of stuff. He's on the All Talk podcast, and he's on Manga Machinations. Go listen to that. He asks, do you guys hate meaningless who would win in a fight arguments, or do you generally find those fun? It is my least favorite question anyone ever asks me. And
I got over that question when I was, I think, 13.
Yeah. It is a question that people that don't read comic books ask. It is a question that has one answer, and Stanley gave the answer, and it's the greatest answer anyone's ever given to anything. He said, I'm paraphrasing here, obviously, whoever's book it is the winner. Yeah. If it's Lobo versus dark side, and it's in the Lobo comic book, Lobo is going to win at the end of the day. It's very rare that a hero doesn't win somehow in his own comic. If it's Batman versus Superman and it's in a Batman comic, more than likely Batman's going to win at the end. If it's Spider-Man versus Silver Surfer, pretty sure Spider-Man's going to win if that's in a Spider-Man comic. That's just how this works. I hate it when people ask, because the answer is anyone. When in a world where Squirrel Girl has beaten Thanos and Galactus, anyone can beat any character. You just have to write it the right way. So, there you go.
Or the wrong way and still publish it.
Sure, there you go. That's the answer to that. Anyone disagree with that answer? It's an annoying question.
Unless it's called the death of.
Yeah. Hey, can I will not spoil the death of Deadpool.
Just spoil it.
I will not spoil the death of Deadpool.
No, don't
But if you're a
spoil it.
Deadpool fan, prepare to be trolled by Deadpool 250 tomorrow. So that's all I'm going to say about that. And Toby's here. Toby's here just in time.
For you to thank Patreon?
Toby's here. Oh, you know what? While Toby's getting set up, I will thank Patreon. Thank you very much. And Bryce, while I'm thanking Patreon, why don't you prepare yourself?
Oh, I will.
Okay.
My fluffer just arrived.
While Bryce gets ready, I want to thank Albert Soy. I want to thank Ryan Hess at the Region for Gaming podcast at rfgpodcast@wordpress.com. And I want to thank Julian Titus at the Nerds Without Pants podcast at pixelbit.com. Keep it pantsless, Internet. Go listen to those two podcasts and go thank Albert Soy for backing us on Patreon. He is awesome. They're all awesome. And there's other awesome people, too. And if you want to be awesome, you can go to patreon.com/comicconspiracy. Donate a little money to the podcast every month. Goes to pay these guys for being here. Goes to pay our hosting fees. Buys our pizza. Buys our snacks. Supplies us with books to read for the book club. All that Patreon money is very helpful. And at the $5 or up level, we'll give you a shout out every episode, or at least once a month, including Shay Neary, Edgar Moreno, Kevin Nguyen, Joshua Cruz, Kevin Nguyen. Wait, I think I already said Kevin Nguyen. Well, I said you twice because you're great. Joshua Cruz. I'll say your name again so I stay in order. Wesley Thon, Scott Cross X Hunter Zanow.
Wait, Wesley Thon, is he related to?
He might be. He's his ancestor. Yeah. Of Abard Thon. Cross X Hunter, hopefully you got your books. He ordered a bunch of books from me the other week, so hopefully they showed up. Mike Campbell, David Safar, also known as Red Hat Man. Hello, Red Hat Man. Brandon Meyer, Christopher Noyes, bringing the funk. Alex McHale, Joe Jimenez, Armando Testani, Ivan Leskanik, which names I always forget how to pronounce properly, and hopefully it's close. And Jason Thomas. Thank you, guys. Bryce.
Yes, sir.
Are you prepared?
The question, Ryan, is not if I am prepared.
Are we ready?
Let's just, in the words of Illidan Storm Rage, you are not prepared.
You were not prepared. Okay, Toby, thank you for joining us. Sorry you're a little late. Hopefully work didn't kick your ass too bad.
While word is open... Oh, sorry. Tobias, good to see you.
Good. Hey, how you doing?
I hope that you have your book club pick ready because we are going to talk about this book club.
No. No.
You are the worst.
Well,
I hope that Charlie's ready then.
We have the book club pick, but before the book club pick...
Right, I'm waiting for word to open up my...
Okay. Bryce has threatened us for a few weeks now that he has...
prepared.
Yeah, that he has a...
There we go.
A cable quiz. A series of questions and factoids and interesting things that he wants to ask about cable.
So is this like episode 202.C for cable?
201.
Is it 201?
Is this a real wedding invitation, by the way? Is this what you sent out back then?
Save the date.
I should say Bryce...
But it's 2011.
Yeah, they got married a couple years ago. Bryce brought us his wedding save the date invitation.
She allowed you to do this?
Yeah, isn't she awesome?
Or did you just do it and go, whoops, that's what went out?
I'll tweet it out as soon as I'm done with my cable
That's
quiz.
awesome. That's very awesome.
It is the Amazing Spider-Man Annual 20? Wedding of Peter Parker. 21.
Close,
Annual of Mary Jane and Peter Parker cover with Bryce's face and his wife's face over Mary Jane. So, beautiful save the date. But Bryce, you have this cable quiz that you have been teasing us with for weeks.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We're gonna Charlie, you get a 1 second delay. You cannot answer for 1 second.
No, Charlie,
okay.
Charlie can only answer if all of us go, huh?
Because I know you're a
As
big
it
cable fan.
stands, I will probably fail depending on what type of questions these are.
Okay, now I'm going to guess. The first answer is G.W. Bridge. Is that the guy's name? G.W. Bridge? Is that the answer to the first question? G.W. Bridge? Is that his name?
No, but where did you get that from?
That's the guy's name, right? That's his buddy. Like
G.W. Bridge is part of the cable universe.
Yeah.
Where'd you pull that from?
I figured that was going to be a question because it's a random ass character that hasn't appeared in like 30 years.
I think Ryan needs to put another cable quiz on also.
Okay, guys, I have two pieces for you.
All right.
The quiz has actually been shortened, A, due to time, and B, due to the fact that I put together a cable puzzle for you. Now,
Jesus, Mike's moving.
This isn't Good Job Brain. Come on,
this puzzle is
You have to move pictures.
This puzzle is a bill of facts, FACTS. Okay, so this bill of facts about cable we will refer to as the cable bill.
Is this going to fix my Xfinity prices?
Who doesn't love their cable bill? Okay, look. 2 parts. So first of all, I'm going to start with the puzzle. You guys are going to need a pen and paper.
What?
Really?
Well, you guys aren't, but all the listeners are.
Okay.
So put this on pause and then go get yourself a pen and paper. Okay, you're good. Now I'm going to give you. I'm going to give you clues, and you guys are going to have to tweet to Ryan or me or whomever or Charlie about the answer. Not all the answers, but
okay. I literally don't have any idea what's coming up here, so everyone is no one knows what Bryce is about to say.
Actually, I just reversed it.
Nobody knows what Bryce is going to say
Even
ever.
Bryce doesn't know what he's going to say.
Okay, here we go. So, Charlie, pop quiz, or everybody, pop quiz.
Okay, so
No, we'll do this true false.
quiz
This will be
first.
easier for you.
Okay, quiz first.
Okay.
Wait, what do the listeners have to do then?
True or false?
Writing down their scores, so they're going to write it down.
No, this isn't true or false. What is Cable's relationship to Rachel Summers?
Well, Rachel is the alternate reality daughter of Gene and Scott, or Madeline. Wait, is it Madeline
Wait, I
Pryor
thought she
and
was
Scott?
the mom.
No.
And
Ding,
Bryce
ding,
is
ding.
gonna-
Charlie can now answer.
Well, technically, she's the one that took the baby Cable into the future.
Yeah, it's just
That's not what I asked, Charlie. Show off.
Well,
it's sister,
alternate reality
like alternate
sister.
reality sister. Yeah,
What?
It's his half alternate reality sister.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
She is the biological daughter of our 616 Cyclops. She is therefore the half-sister.
Yeah.
Oh, that Rachel.
All right.
Yes. Assuming
so was
she
I
ever
half
actually
right?
got born.
Right.
Was that half right?
Yeah.
Because she still hasn't been born in the comics, right?
Correct.
But she's
What?
in the comics.
Well,
She's in the comics
but
because
she's from the future.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
What do you mean she's in the comics? Of course she's in the fucking comics. We wouldn't be talking about her.
The Summers kids can't live in their own time. They have to come back to the past.
And
What
hang out
was
with
the-
their parents.
Yeah.
What was the year in which Cable was born? Our year that Cable was born.
1978.
X-Men 201 would be
No, are you asking for the comic
73.
book date? Or are you
Ding,
asking
ding, ding.
for-
Charlie can now answer.
I think it's 82. I think
we have
it's
a quorum?
82. I'm going to say 82. That
Quorum,
sounds
I don't
right.
think it applies to that. That's if everybody's
For
physically
some reason,
present.
I'm thinking 80.
Charlie may be right.
Well, you guys are all wildly wrong. It is 1986
Oh, wow.
he is born.
That late?
That
X-Men 201
late.
was 86?
86. January 1986.
Remember,
Wow.
it shipped bi-monthly for most of the 200s.
No, it didn't.
Yeah.
X-Men?
Yeah,
Okay, we gotta go.
Okay,
this is a
continue.
Bryce quiz. This is fucking long. Place, Cable's place of birth.
The future?
Scary.
Place, not time, motherfucker.
It was in Westchester. Or Westminster.
No, it was.
Westminster, you're such a noob.
Westchester, Westminster. What the hell is this? What the hell is the city called?
You fucking Beatles fan.
Yeah, it is Westchester. Westchester.
It's
Yeah.
Westchester
Yeah.
is the place that you're thinking of.
Right. Yeah, but he wasn't born
Where was
there.
he born?
No.
Weren't they on vacation or something weird?
I wonder if
Ding, ding, ding. Charlie can now
He was
answer.
born in a plane?
No. I wanna
Okay,
say
it
Genoa.
was Salem Center, Westchester.
Salem.
It was.
Oh, was it Westchester?
He was.
He
He was.
Why did I think they were on like weird vacation or something when he was
Wait,
born?
so does Ryan get that one?
Sure.
No, because he said Westminster.
No, I said Westchester, and then I said, wait, Westminster? No, Westchester.
He thought he was born in an abbey. Nobody knows.
I know, I knew.
Okay, what is the sentient computer program on Cable's ship called?
Oh,
Charlie is so angry he doesn't know this. This is actually kind of low-hanging fruit. You should know this one, Charlie.
I know I should, but it's been a long
ship
time.
or the
No, the name of the
I want everybody to know that
program.
Ryan's thinking really, really hard right now. Like,
Who is
like,
his Siri? Who is his fucking
in
Siri?
his constant thinking
on
mode.
the tip of my tongue.
Siri, body slide by one.
Yeah.
You don't have Wi-Fi.
Professor?
Oh, Charlie, it's Professor.
Yes.
Oh. Is this
Okay,
the goal? Is just to beat out Charlie?
That's fine.
Yeah.
Evidently,
As
it's
you-
easy.
As long as
It's Charlie versus all of you. Charlie so far at 0. You guys are all at 1.
So as long as we win,
Hey,
one
what
against
about the
Charlie, we
Rachel
win.
answer?
You didn't
got
know that.
that.
You like wishy-washy guessed.
I got that.
You were like, that was a lucky. Like you're like.
Do I get a half
I was
point for
completely
that?
wrong with that one,
get
so
a
we
half
get
point,
negative one.
Watch the crosstalk. Bryce, continue.
Okay, Cable's title was The Cable title was retitled in 2002 to
Soldier X.
Okay, that was easy.
Ben, Charlie,
That was horrible.
You can talk anytime. I was just joking.
Okay, our Earth is Earth 616. Which Earth is the Age of Apocalypse?
I have no clue.
The Age of Apocalypse Earth.
By the way, I have to, while Ryan's thinking, because he might actually get it. He
I
looks like
really
he's
like
actually
Ryan's thinking faces. I mean, they're just like
They're there. It's in the back. Isn't it something like...
So let me just say, while Ryan's thinking, that I actually also like these guys knew-ish all this stuff, but I had to do my own research.
Isn't it like 996 or something, like, for the year? Wasn't it something weird like that?
No, it's 295, which means
Okay.
absolutely nothing.
Okay.
Okay, this is if
I don't see how that applies to a cable quiz, though.
if Jim were here, I'd appreciate this. What is Sugar Man's first appearance issue?
Fucking sugar ass, man.
How is that part of a cable quiz?
Look, Apocalypse, Sugar Man, GW Bridge, everybody in his
Cable
universe
wasn't even
is
in
part
Age of
the
Apocalypse.
Cable quiz, okay?
It's going to be the Age of Apocalypse Omega, or Alpha. It has to be Alpha. He was real early.
Sugar Man first appearance was
Or was it X-Man?
No, it's the Gen. It was the Gen.
Was it like
Generation-
X-Man number 2 or something?
Generation Next, right? Or the Generation X.
Rock gets a point. Generation Next
Oh,
to number
was it?
2
Okay.
by.
I had the right issue, just had the wrong title.
Okay, well, you're awfully close for not getting any of them.
No, I said number 2, but it was not X-Man.
Okay, this
it was
is easy.
Generation
Charlie can get this one. X-Men villain responsible for Cable's birth.
Sinister.
Yeah, that was easy. Yes.
I was gonna say that. We could have said that.
That was what
We're
going to
give Tobias that point. Cable's floating utopian island
You're having fun pulling these ones out that
are so easy and you just can't get.
I just haven't
Yeah.
thought about
Yep.
in forever because
Yep.
they haven't come up in
Absolutely.
like
Is it a
at
moon
least
base?
10 years.
That's what I'm
When's
here
the last
for.
time they came up?
That's what I'm here for.
Is it a moon base?
No, it's
It's not the ship. I don't know. It's not the ship, right?
His ship,
I
right?
just remember the ship.
well, yeah, it's
It's not like
you go.
Utopia or something like that. It has what's the hell's the
It's
name
Providence.
of it? Providence. Yes.
Okay, another easy one. Who gives Cable the TO virus?
Apocalypse.
Yeah. What does TO stand for?
Technovirus.
Yeah.
Techno.
It's a techno-organic.
Techno-organic.
Lane. Yeah.
Oh, here's a good one. Here's a good one. The Cable ongoing run during the whole Messiah story trilogy that was incredible with Art Olivetti.
Olivetti,
However you pronounce the name, and the writer that we don't know because it was really
Sperinsky.
signature by the art, not the writing. Cable finds a child that he names Hope. He actually married Hope's mother. What was Hope's mother's name?
Oh, jeez.
I don't know, but they stayed in the house and then the bugs came.
That's
well,
true,
it
Brock.
wasn't
I read
her
that series.
biological mother though. That was
I wasn't reading
I didn't
that
specify
stuff.
biological. She had a mother
Oh, yeah.
in the book. What was her mother's name?
I don't remember.
Okay, it's a trick question because it's also Hope. Oh! Mind blown. So the mother's name is Hope, and in honor of her, because she dies to the bug people. Oh, wait, did she die to Bishop? Okay, that I forget.
Well, the bug people come, but Bishop comes at the same time, so that it's like everything.
She dies to somebody, and in her honor, Cable names the baby Hope.
Yeah.
Which writer gives Hope the techno-organic virus?
I'll assume Bendis because he was writing everything.
I'm
Oh no! Actually, was that pre-Bendis?
Fabian is
Was that Brubaker?
no.
Do we want to have more than one answer?
No, that was pre-Bendis.
What do you mean more than one answer?
Okay, more than two. Did you guess? Oh, I'm sorry. I meant guess.
I'll guess Brubaker because he was involved then.
Charlie's thinking face.
Which comic book writer gave Hope the techno-organic virus?
Because that was in.
Superior?
Yes, it's Cy Superior.
Is it really?
In this latest series.
What?
It happened a couple issues ago. It was terrible.
Oh, I thought that was
that
like
is a troll answer.
Yeah. Well, it was a troll question.
Oh, okay, wow.
Yeah, no,
I was,
it just happened. She never had it.
I was thinking like during like Messiah Complex or something like that.
Okay, that's it for the quiz. Now, just to keep this ball rolling. So now we have a puzzle, okay? You're going to have a series of answers. From these answers, you are going to have to come up with the answer to the puzzle, okay?
Jesus Christ.
That's all you get. Okay, so...
Nobody's buying this game, by the way.
And by the way, I have to mention that all of these are pretty easily internetable, Wikipediable.
Sure.
But just to challenge yourself, try to limit that as much as possible. Otherwise, it's no fucking fun.
I'm shocked you had no questions about Cable's son.
I know. I was expecting that too.
Yeah.
Yet.
Oh!
Okay. Getting off to that start, Tyler Dayspring
There we go.
is the leader of this band of future rebels that overthrows Apocalypse.
The Morlocks.
Gambit and the Eternal.
No, you guys aren't guessing now. You guys are going to have to.
Gambit
Like,
we're not guessing now?
No, this is
I don't
the
know how we're gonna
puzzle
do
for
this.
our listeners.
Yeah, this is a puzzle for listeners.
Oh, I see.
Although you guys should guess what it is or maybe you should guess now. I don't know. However you want to do it. Okay. Okay. So, the name of the X-Men villain who raised Strife. You guys may or may not know Strife.
Yes.
If you didn't make it into here, but I assume you know who he is. The name of the X-Men villain who raised Strife.
That one's way too easy.
Okay.
Okay. Well.
So what are we doing with these?
The listeners have to answer these to answer a puzzle.
Okay.
He hasn't fully explained the puzzle yet, but that's okay.
No, that is the puzzle. You have to know all these answers, and then you can solve the puzzle.
Okay. What's the puzzle?
Go listen to Good Job Brain.
Wait, Ryan, you did all these escape the rooms. It's a puzzle within a puzzle within a puzzle.
I guess.
You will figure out as you go on.
I guess.
Okay, continue.
Okay. Sisterhood, of which Cable's friend Black Smith is the first male accepted to. Oh, I didn't mean to have two Blacksmith questions, but I guess I do. Artist, co-responsible for creating Blacksmith. Sorry, I didn't mean to have two Blacksmith questions. My bad. Next question. Writer. So we all know who is responsible for Cable in terms of creating him art-wise. Who is the writer responsible with co-creating Cable? Good question, Bryce. Oh, this is a fan favorite. This guy is a member of Six Pack, and with possibly the lamest superhero power ever, can shoot off his hand.
I'm surprised that question didn't come up earlier either.
I'll explain this later, and it'll make perfect sense. Because I needed some answers saved for the puzzle. One of the names of the writers that rebooted X-Force in possibly its greatest volume ever that culminated in X-Force Cable Messiah War. One of the names of those gentlemen. Next question. Which Avenger did Cable infect with the techno-organic virus? Ooh, that's going to be tough to Wikipedia. Which... You already answered this, you bastard. Which character in Cable's universe is named after a civil engineering project in New York?
How many many of these are there? How many more do you have?
I've done that one. Okay, this is the easiest one. Biological mother of Cable, and that one. I think that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think that's 10.
Okay.
If it's not, then I fucked up this quiz for you guys.
Now, what do we do with these?
You'll know if you have all the answers written out with...
It forms a sentence.
The first letters.
A code.
I don't know.
Okay.
Puzzle
You
within
guys are
a
going to have
puzzle.
to write out all of those words, and it'll make itself clear.
Okay.
Anyway, that's my Cable quiz and my Cable puzzle. And
right.
You can go ahead and tweet the answers to us. I'm going to tweet out this save the date while we finish off the book review.
Yeah, the book review. It's
Anyway,
your book review, so you start it.
Oh, I will.
So,
Glad it came around to me.
okay, well, for Bryce.
I would just like to say...
Hold on, Bryce.
Yes.
That was awesome. I'll have to go back and listen to this episode and try to figure out your answers. And everyone else should, too, and tweet at Larsen Bryce, or Ryan Higgins Ryan,
That's right.
or Insanity and Chaos, or Toby XI, or Brock Sager over here. So send any of us the answers if you get the answer.
Or Ascani Lover 81.
But Bryce...
That's not my name. That'd just be funny.
We now have
He
your
was
book
included.
club pick of the month, and especially Lane is here as a authority, but specifically a Wildstorm authority.
Authority on authority.
No pun intended there.
Would aficionado work?
Sure, any of those work. Your pick of the month was Authority, Volume 1. The old, was it Relentless? That's the old volume.
Yep.
So it's kind of part of the new collected trade, but Authority Volume 1 through 8. Give us your spiel.
Here's my spiel. Wait, I forget. Do I rate it at the end or the beginning?
Wait till we all go around, then you pitch the series, we all go around, and then you review it and give us your score.
Okay, because I do have something to say about this book, as I'm sure will come as a surprise. This is a story of love and war. This is a story of gentlemen and gentlewomen doing what needs to be done to save the Earth. Not just their Earth, although it's just their Earth in this story, but it goes on to be other Earths. But this is, I guess I'll save it for the end. But this came out from Warren Ellis and Brian Hitch and some other, I'm sure, very good artistic gentlemen in around, what was it, 2001?
99.
Oh, 99?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And I'll, I guess, explain the rest in my spiel. Spoiler alert, it will involve me admitting to not know anything about Wildstorm.
Toby, you're a Wildstorm guy. What do you think of this book?
I'm a Wildstorm guy that has read all the other stuff except for Authority and the other book that's really big about Wildstorm.
Planetary?
Yeah. So
Do you like all the shit?
No. I like all the art books. In other words,
Brian Hitch and Brian Hitch and John Cassaday.
I like all the other artists. And I have not read this yet because I suck, and I will take this to Vegas with me, and I'll
and not read it.
I'm sure you'll get it ready.
I'll surely read it. I'll surely read it there.
Okay, Charlie.
Okay, so The Authority, hands down, was kind of groundbreaking because it's the idea of the Justice League or the Avengers not playing at all politically correct, not paying attention to borders, just literally acting for the greater good and not getting sort of bogged down in any kind of red tape or anything that would prevent them from essentially taking justice into their own hands. And the way it kind of comes up it's almost like what you would call sort of like the Justice League Elite or like a Max book, in the way that they will kill, they will break legs, they will do whatever it takes. And at the time this came out, it was kind of like the idea of you grew up with Justice League all this time, and now this is like your Justice League now. Like, you, at the time, it definitely kind of felt like that was just something needed. The idea of, as things sort of progress, at some point, these beings with great power kind of need to step up their game and actually act for the greater good, and not always necessarily just fighting Darkseid or fighting Lex Luthor, but sort of tackling world problems even and doing whatever it takes to essentially saved the day. And the way they utilized a lot of the characters in the way that you can kind of mirror the idea of, so that would be a Batman and Superman romance going on there, and all that was a lot of fun. So it's definitely one of those things where I can't talk highly enough. A lot of the characters that they created within sort of Stormwatch and then going into the Authority are just hands down some great characters that they have tried to even bring into the New 52 to various degrees of success. But the idea has always sort of remained the same. The idea has always been this sort of group on high who's willing to cross those boundaries that other people won't cross in the name of protecting the planet. And that's something that I kind of feel has always sort of resonated with me, and is always something that, hands down, I may not say go read everything they ever did on the Authority, but basically the first 4 trades are not to be missed. So I would give it a nice 9 out of 10.
All right. Picture it. 1999. Young Ryan Higgins working at Comics Conspiracy officially for about a year at this point.
Would we call you young?
Okay. Huh?
Would we call you young?
No, 2 years. I've been here for 2 years. So I'd be 20. I'd be 20 years old. Okay.
Did we start at a comic book store at the same time?
Started in 97. April 97.
I think I started in 97 as well.
Did you really?
Yeah.
All right.
At the opposite side, at the other side of town, competitors.
Hijack.
Hey, I'm here now.
So, a couple years prior, I had, I wasn't reading a ton of superhero comics, but then Grant Morrison coming in doing the Justice League kind of really, as everyone rolls their eyes on the opposite end of the table. No, Grant Morrison's Justice League kind of got me back into superhero comics, and there was a bunch of good stuff coming out. Did Wildstorm, was Authority when, that was after DC bottom, right? Was that right at the time? Lane's looking inquisitively. It was before, right? Because they bought him a little bit into the run, I think, is when Jim Lee sold.
Yeah, I think that
it was like 2 years. It was like,
I think Revolution by the time he got bought.
Okay. Yeah. So I was not a big Image fan, but I was reading a lot of Vertigo and at this point a lot of superhero stuff. I had heard, I loved Warren Ellis, and when he took over Stormwatch, I was like, oh, it's Warren Ellis. It's Stormwatch. This book's stupid, but it's Warren Ellis. I'm going to read this. So I read Stormwatch. I was like, wow, this is pretty good. And then Authority came out, and no question asked, Authority might be one of the most important comics published in the 90s. I believe the Authority is where the shift of every comic that's come after it started. The Authority is responsible for the Ultimate Universe. The Authority is responsible for the Marvel movies. At the end of the day, it all comes back to this. The Marvel movies are a direct response from the Ultimate Universe, Bryce. You're giving me that look. This is the timeline for it.
You're calling this the Frank Miller, the Dark Knight Returns of the 90s.
Exactly. Dark Knight completely shifted comics in the 80s. You had Watchmen, you had all that stuff after it. Authority at the end. You have to remember, Bryce, what the comic industry looked like in the 90s. There were great books.
Nope.
But it was dire times in the 90s.
Scarlet Spider.
No.
Did you say there were no great books in the 90s?
Nope.
The Authority at 99 completely changed the comic industry, and everything that came after was a response to the Authority and Planetary. Those 2 books shifted. Maybe not a direct response to everything, but a lot of books that changed the cinematic feel of the comics. It changed the style. Vertigo had... You had a lot of the Vertigo guys now working in the mainstream comics. Authority was kind of the one that really shot this up. Not so much the independent books, but really Marvel and DC. The Authority was a direct response to Marvel and DC, and especially DC. And they had to go through, and the books changed to become as good as Authority. This is what happened in the 90s, from my perspective. And you have to remember, if you go to 1999... who are my 2 favorite writers at the time? Or 3, go by 2000, 2001, really. But 99 is when it starts.
Grant Morrison and Morrison Grant?
No. It's Brian Michael Bendis, Warren Ellis, and Mark Miller.
You actually liked Mark Miller at one point?
Absolutely.
So he hated you?
Absolutely.
He's told this story a number of times, like his turning point with
He told us the turning point. He never told us that he used to be a fan, though.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
I went and got.
I just always.
I went to multiple Warren Ellis signings. He used to be up in San Francisco at Comic Experience and Isotope. Or Comic Experience. Mark Miller. You have to remember he was doing Swamp Thing. He did Authority. He does the back half of Volume 1 Authority. Then he was on the Ultimates. And Brian Michael Bendis starts with Ultimate Spider-Man in 2000, and then Powers and then what else?
So the one thing pissed you off.
Well, no, but I mean, it's just, I went negative and then I came back on most of them. But anyway, there's no doubt in my mind that this is one of the most important comics. Having said that, and having not read this since then,
You are fucking kidding me.
I went back and
Am I the only one that read this?
No, I read it.
Oh.
No. I had not reread The Authority. I have this, like Charlie, this image of how important The Authority was in my head.
So you have not reread it?
I had not reread it since 99.
Oh, had not. Got it.
I had not.
Got it.
So I was really excited to reread this volume. While I think it was super, super important and really changed a ton of stuff, I think stuff past it. I loved this book when it came out, but now looking at it, it's like, I think everything became as good, if not better than it. It's almost, when I read it now, it's almost, what's the word I'm looking for? And I was not expecting to have this reaction. It feels done before. And it hadn't been. This is where it starts, and I totally understand that. But reading it now, and if someone's never read it, they're going to read this and be like, yeah, okay, this is fine. It's a superhero comic, because that's what superhero comics have been for the last 15 years. But you have to put yourself in the mindset of 1999. This was totally different and not what everything became. But I was really blown away. I mean, I kind of have to give it 2 scores. 1999, Ryan gives it an 11 out of 10. 2015, Ryan gives it like a 7 out of 10. And it's not because it's gotten bad. It didn't not age well. It just... I think things matched it or surpassed it in the time since it was published. It is a super, super important book.
Your scale changed.
It did. It really did. And I was totally not expecting to have this reaction. I was talking to Brock about it before, earlier in the day. And I was like, man, I just have those memories of reading this book and loving it so much and thinking of how awesome it was. And it did. I mean, it goes Authority, then it goes Ultimates. Ultimates was when that widescreen format in comics became like the standard. I mean, that's Brian Hitch and Mark Miller. And that is, I mean, maybe that is the more direct result to the Marvel movies, influence to the Marvel movies, but Authority is what predates it in Brian Hitch's art style. You see elements of that in Authority. It was not quite there for Ultimates, but it's very close to it. I mean, the story's cool. The story's great. Characters are great. If you know a Stormwatch, I mean, I totally recommend reading them. This is a good book. But if you've read comics for the last 15 years and you never read this, I don't think it's going to feel as groundbreaking as it was when it was published. It's maybe Watchmen and Dark Knight are kind of the same thing. I mean, again, I've read those multiple times, so I've kind of kept up with it. But not to tarnish the the X-Men here. But if you go back and you read those Claremont Byrne issues, what they did at the time was groundbreaking. And George Perez, New Teen Titans, Wolfman Perez Titans, and the Legion of the time. So it's not just those books.
You're walking a very dangerous line right here.
They were great when they came out, or the Frank Miller Daredevil. But
you're even more dangerous now.
They started something that was so unprecedented at the time, but so many books were influenced by those and did the same things at least as good when they came later. I can see the flaws in those books, or they're like, well, this is great, but there's so much stuff now this is now the standard. You know what I mean? It's like you go play Super Mario Brothers. For us, it's just a game, and when you're kids, it was groundbreaking. But now, it's the most limited of all of them because everything took that and built on it. It doesn't make the original bad. It's just everything's that is the source of everything that is taken from it. So I think if you've grown up on it, you're going to love it because that was what the feeling was at the time. But if you are reading it now for the first time, like if you give someone a Claremont Byrne X-Men right now, they're going to be like, well, okay, but this is just the X-Men. But at the time, that was brand new. That was something incredible that no one had seen before. And that's how I feel with the Authority is if you were there at the time, and you have to remember, I was in the Warren Ellis forum. This has been into the Mark Miller forum. I was there for all this stuff when it started. I mean, I know guys. I still talk to guys that we all became friends because of this online. I've had this internet community for like 16 years, right? And that's where I know these guys from. Friends all over the world. And it all sprung from The Authority. So I'm never going to say this is a bad book. It's an incredible book and one of the most important books in the late 90s. But if you haven't read it, I don't think you're going to be as impressed with it if you had read it at the time. And that's my spiel.
I will say this.
It was a great spiel.
Thank you.
The amount of times I have read books since reading The Authority that I've kind of found myself thinking, so they're pretty much ripping off The Authority?
Oh, yeah. Well, ripping off The Authority became the comic industry. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't ripping off The Authority. It was just that's how books are now done. It really was.
A couple of characters that have come out since The Authority that I'm like, they're just...
Yeah. But when literally every comic is doing what The Authority was doing, that just... And you get you're actually seeing, I would say, a little deviation from that in the last couple of years with the more outrageous titles or titles focused away from the traditional comic audience to kind of newer crowd or different audience. You're actually seeing, I would say, a response to 15 years, but even if you go to Dark Knight, close to 30 years of this dark, gritty... You know, you have the 80s with Dark Knight and Watchmen. The 90s was kind of like Authority and Planetary, or like Authority and say like, Preacher, Punisher, these kind of darker books. And into the 2000s, that continues to just basically be the industry. So, yeah, it was very interesting to reread it because, that memory I have is so vivid and so strong of how much I love these books. And I went back to it and I was like, that's just kind of how comics are now. So, yeah.
It's a very intelligent, mature spiel.
Thank you.
How many? Oh, you already rated it. Okay.
I mean, I will give it 8 out of 10. I mean, I think on average, it deserves its place in history. I don't think. I guess maybe at the end of the day, it doesn't stand up as well as I was hoping. But I definitely one of the most important comics published in the 90s, and led to Wildstorm being bought by DC, and then DC. I'm sure Lane can give us some info on this, but DC totally nerfing Authority, killing Wildstorm because of it. Terrible, all sorts of bad shit with Authority's responsible for all sorts of stuff.
I don't even know about any of that, although I'd be interested to hear about it. Brockenstein?
Oh, yeah. So,
Brockenstein.
So I'm of the ilk of, I haven't read this.
You are kidding me!
But wait! He'll have an opinion about it.
No. He had not read it. He has now read it.
Oh, as I was going off of what Ryan was saying, was he read it in 1999,
and he hasn't read it since.
So I'm coming off.
Can you play
of
that back? I could have sworn he said that he had not.
I was saying it like that to actually get a rise out of you.
He's like me, but I didn't read it. He actually read it.
Yes.
So he's nothing like you.
Exactly.
Okay, so you read it. Okay.
I've read it. Oh no, you haven't.
No, I didn't get to it.
This is me. I'm coming to this for the first time, and I read it.
Okay.
I read that volume right there that's sitting in front of you. But I have read Ultimates. I've read tons of stuff, that came out after Authority. It's always been on my list of stuff to go back to try and check out, because I was reading comics in the 90s when Image was starting up with Wildcats and Cyberforce was going on, and there was Savage Dragon and Shadowhawk and all that stuff, and this was coming out of the tail end of all of that Image stuff after they had like this huge slew of crap. But I didn't go through the crap part, and then I heard but I've read Planetary so far, and I enjoyed Planetary. The closest I've gotten to Authority was I read the first couple issues of Stormwatch from the New 52, which
wasn't very close to Authority.
It has aspects of Authority and Stormwatch kind of put together in that.
Stormwatch is part of the New 52? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed it. I like, I've read a little bit of Ellis. I like his work. I love Hitch's art. So reading this kind of really harkened me to like the Ultimates, and I can see where, what Ryan is saying about how Authority kind of jump-started where comics were going to go after Authority. Because for me, reading like, Jim Lee's Wildcats and stuff like that, it was awesome to read it. It was, this great thing, but they were taking, like, you have the muscle of the group, you have the brains of the group. It was kind of like these kind of stereotypes.
Cookie cutter.
Right, yeah, like cookie cutter kind of things, whereas Authority took it more as this is a blatant steal of, Batman or Hawkman or whatever, right? Or Iron Man or however you want to do it, Vision. These are blatant steals, but I'm making them work. Whereas kind of, they always say that good writers steal, bad writers borrow. So it's kind of like, you get these characters where you borrow aspects, and so the work doesn't really good. But if you're just blatantly, fuck it, it's like Batman, right? Like, that works. So reading it, for me, I really like just the broadness of it. Like, the ship that they travel in is this huge thing that can teleport them to any place on the planet, and it's in this weird, like, bleed or rift area or whatever.
Well, even I know the bleed from my days as reading DC.
Yeah, they totally. I mean, they brought the bleed into the main.
So,
that was a Wildstorm original?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
That's from Authority.
Like, I really, like, for me, I'm reading it going to bleed and seeing all these weird places in it, and I'm going, like, the Sandman is, world is kicking off in my head of just all these weird places that you can kind of dream of and all that stuff. So, for me, reading this was just fun, kind of rehashing all those other books that I've read that kind of either really resonated with me or came after this. So, it's a fun read. It brings a lot of kind of newer topics in your face. They kill. There's she smoked, like, Jenny Sparks just smokes and smokes and smokes. Like, I didn't give a fuck. Midnighter and Apollo are in a relationship, right? They're bringing very, very hot topics to the table, but not throwing it in your face. They're like, yes, these topics are here, but you don't need to focus on those. These builds these characters up.
20-year-old me loved Jenny Sparks, right? Of course, obviously.
Yeah. This UK bitch that didn't give a fuck, that smoked and was like a rebel. But I imagine 20-year-old Ryan.
36-year-old Ryan loves Jenny Sparks too, right?
But she wasn't that goth. It was like he was going on the other side.
Oh, Ryan was growing up a little bit.
For him, right?
It wasn't 15-year-old Ryan. It was 20-year-old Ryan. He was like coming out on the other side.
If she had dark hair, it would have been better if she had dark hair at 15-year-old Ryan. But
yeah,
no, I really, really enjoyed reading it. It makes me want to keep reading the rest of him. I'm most likely going to pick up those new volumes that they have him in.
Well, so volume 2 is Mark Miller and Frank Whiteley.
Yeah.
So,
really?
Yeah, he's there. That's who takes over. So, and guess where I was introduced to Frank Whiteley?
I'm sure you meant both times Whiteley.
Whiteley. Yeah.
Because I didn't know who this Quietly is.
We argue over how to pronounce people's names, but I've noticed that in Arrow, they blatantly say Ra's al Ghul and Ra's al Ghul, like back and forth, like throughout the entire episodes, and I'm like, well, yeah, I don't really give a fuck.
They both work.
Right?
They pretty much said they did that on purpose.
Okay. So I'm like, okay, so who cares? Anyway, can I get my score?
Please.
Yeah. I would give it like an 8 out of 10 Bryces. I think it's
8 out of 10 Bryces.
I think it's a really solid book to kind of just read and enjoy. The artwork's amazing. Just the scope of it is amazing. It's a fun title, and it really brings out kind of what Ryan was saying, like where comic books. This is kind of like this is a mark on the timeline for comics. Like Authority is kind of what people are going to base stuff on, whether or not they're basing it on or not. They're stealing it, they're doing a good job. They're borrowing, they suck in it. But
Lane.
Okay.
Lane, more knowledge. Hit him with more
Lane,
knowledge.
you are the Wildstorm expert, so going back way pre the DC buy. I mean the Wildstorm stuff is your book, so
ever since Image started.
Yeah.
Followed Jim all the way around.
Give us your spiel here for Authority, but maybe a little bit on just Wildstorm in general.
Okay, wait. Can you give us 30 seconds of
Well,
Wildstorm is different than Image, but it's spun out of Image?
Hold on. Before we start that, can we also talk about the art you have? Do we want to start with that?
No, dude, that's a rabbit hole. There's so much fucking awesome art he has. That's a half an hour conversation.
Lane brought what did you bring? The first page?
I have the first and the last page of the Brian Hitch run.
Wow.
and a couple in between. But
original art is what Ryan's talking about.
Yeah, original art.
It's fucking incredibly beautiful.
Yeah, we were going to have to take some pictures of those before we leave tonight or something, so I can post them online. Yeah, absolutely incredible.
I'll take some pictures.
Yeah, Lane, you are a super collector, so
especially with Wildstorm.
Yeah, explain to Bryce the difference between Wildstorm and Image and all that stuff.
Wildstorm is basically just the corner of the universe that Jim Lee created. So,
Of Image?
Of Image.
Yeah.
And they were based out of San Diego, too.
So like
That little studio down
Sylvester
there.
was Top Cow.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Image was split into 7 different companies.
Yeah.
What?
And all form of it was like Robert Kirkman with Skybound is part of Image Comics. It's under the umbrella of Image Comics. It's his company
Did not know that.
within
That's
Image.
Kind of
With
awesome.
one exception, which is Wills. Wills was part of Wildstorm.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. The
Yeah,
Wetworks universe lives inside of Wildstorm.
Right. Because Rob Liefeld took his awesome entertainment out of Image. Jim Lee sold Wildstorm to DC.
Wait.
that it?
So
Top
all
Cal's
these...
still around.
Top
McFarlane still has his
Aspen.
own.
Yeah.
With Spot.
The
Spawn.
Aspen was a
Aspen was
different
never
thing.
Image.
No,
Yeah, Aspen was a different
that came out of Top Cow.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, it
and
was
then
he was
Larsen-
under Top Cow, but then he took his stuff to own his creator.
This is blowing my mind. So
Well, and
all-
just like Crimson.
No, Crimson's all creator owned.
Right, but that was part of
Wildstorm.
That came out
Wildstorm.
of Wildstorm's,
Yeah, so it's Danger
creator-owned
Girl.
series.
Yeah, Crimson, Wildstorm, and
Battle Chasers.
Battle Chasers, yeah.
Yeah.
Crimson, Battle Chasers, and Danger Girl were part of Wildstorm.
Yeah.
That then
So is Chen 13.
went off on their own and then came
Well, I mean, beyond that, also
Back.
League of Extraordinary Gentlemen started at Wildstorm.
right,
Yeah.
right,
With the ABC line for Alan Moore.
right. And then when DC bought it, then he didn't want to do them anymore after a year. So he took League of Extraordinary Gentlemen away from DC for the new stuff.
Well, he kept it there for a year because
couple
he
years,
made an
yeah.
agreement with Jim that
Yeah.
that as long as DC didn't hand him the check, as long as Jim Lee personally handed him the check,
Yeah.
he was okay with it.
Yeah.
And now he's with Top Shelf. Yes.
Wow.
So imprints within imprints.
That's crazy. So all these guys banded together to say, fuck you, Marvel and DC.
Yeah.
We're going to form our own super group. And then they're like, fuck you, each other.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I thought
fucking-
you knew.
That's why Image United never really got off the ground.
Yeah, they tried. They tried to get the original.
Three
Yeah.
issues did they get?
Is it 3?
Two, I think.
0, 1, and 2, I
0,
think,
1, and
right?
2,
yeah.
Dude, that is so fascinating to me. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Dude, I was like 10 years old when this fucking shit went down. I wasn't following all this.
Yeah, it was a
You guys
big-
all have like a couple years on me. So you were like, teenagers. You were buying your own gum.
Of course, Image United doesn't include Jim's Wildstorm.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. 'Cause
Instead,
it
it includes Skybound.
yeah.
All right, so keep going. You're on a roll.
Continue.
So, I mean, as far as authority is concerned, yes, pretty much everything Ryan said is correct. And that was the best thing,
Let's-
which is
let's
like,
pull- let's
it
tone
was
that
all
down.
The
Let's-
90s. This is the 90s.
Okay, this has an
Big-ism.
absolute edition. That's how groundbreaking this is.
Well, it was. I mean, if you look, I don't want to interrupt you, Lane, but Ellis started all this when he redid Stormwatch because
Yes.
Stormwatch, like before Ellis took over, that book was,
It was
nothing.
dying badly.
Yeah, that book was nothing. And I mean, it didn't shoot off like a rocket the minute he took over, but he course corrected that series, and they said, do whatever you want, save this book.
Yeah, they gave him free will to do whatever he wanted
Right.
with the book. He can kill any character he wanted,
Yeah.
do whatever he wanted, and he did.
Yeah, those Ellis issues of Stormwatch are a little tricky to find.
I have to also say, back then, I sold a shit ton of Ellis issues. Even though I didn't read any of his work, I was selling a shit ton of them. And it was all about Stormwatch, it was all about Authority. And yes,
Planetary.
and I didn't read any of them.
Or Transmet.
Oh, yeah.
I tried that one. That's a different story. I tried that one, but yeah.
But yeah,
Continue.
Authority is really where you started the widescreen, big screen action. That's as Warren Ellis called it.
It's kind of like storyboarding, like direct storyboarding.
Yeah, I mean, the idea was he wanted to really start. That's when the whole double page spread kind of really took off with him. As far as we're going to do pictures that take up a lot of the page space to get in your face. And then as far as Authority, it was also his chance to kind of play around with. Warren Ellis is a huge fan of science. He loves just reading about new discoveries, and he incorporates them into stories. So a lot of that was incorporated into Authority. Like the whole idea of the bleed came from scientific journal articles.
Wow.
Half the characters came from that. And yeah, the whole point of it is just creating superheroes that say fuck it to anything and do whatever they want. And I mean, they're not even necessarily correct all the time morally. You know, they did some things that even a moral person would probably question.
Well, especially on the Mark Miller run.
Yes. Well, I mean, even in the second series where they took out the blue, but they decided just to kill the whole race just to say screw you, to make sure they didn't do it again. Yeah. I mean, they did mass genocide, and you know that's not necessarily something that's looked upon well. But I mean, even if they did something bad, they owned up to it, and you know later on they would deal with it. But and then, as you said, a lot of it's archetypes, different characters. You got the Batman clone, yeah, sure. Although to be honest, I think Authority really needs to be read with the end of Stormwatch.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you read the Live or Die storyline, which is 48 through 50 of Stormwatch, that is probably the biggest pivotal change for him, for especially for Warren Ellis as a writer on this, because that's where he really started talking about what would happen if I gave you all the best ideas to turn your world into utopia, and the world just said we don't want it, and which is basically what kind of along the lines of Watchmen, and then the second volume just kind of started with picking the team and creating it. But
well, they talk in this volume about the death of all those guys previous, and that was all. I think we mentioned this when we talked about it. That's in that Wildcats Aliens crossover, right? Isn't that where all the guys get killed off?
Stormwatch.
And then, where Stormwatch gets killed off.
Well, technically they don't get killed.
Well, I mean,
they get taken away from the universe for a while.
Yeah, and then Authority launched kind of out of an aliens crossover
from the actual aliens.
Yeah,
from 20th Century Fox.
Super weird for that to be the launching point.
Well, I'm doing trying to do a Wildcats bind and a Stormwatch bind and all this, and mapping at some points becomes very tricky on these things because of aspects of different, teams affecting other teams and other books. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I have a good chunk of all of these titles, but I'm most likely going to have to read all of it before I even map it. Yes. Just to have a clear, concise, or just pick Lane's brain for the rest of his life, because there's a lot of stuff that because it's all Wildstorm, it kind of crosses over. And
especially at the time of the Stormwatch and Authority, a whole bunch of them started intermingling and crossing over in different ways that if you don't read them all, you would miss out on things. Like you said, the Aliens crossover was pivotal, but it was mostly just to it was to kill off the idea of Stormwatch, which was that they were UN based, because he wanted to take it away, like he said, for Authority to be a higher power, away from any restrictions. And by doing that, I mean the leaders were still around, and they're in the Authority, kind of as puppets, but and then there's always the key pieces of the Wildstorm universe still exist in this. Like, for example, the second one, when she talks about the ships, Jacob Marlowe was introduced, which is Emp from Wildcats. Yeah. during the 50s.
Mm-hmm. The dwarf.
Even Kaizen Gamora is related to Wildcats in a way. So it's more than else getting to play in the Wildstorm universe and just whatever he wanted.
Yeah.
That shot when he smashes the ship with the Gamora, that's such a good shot.
Yeah. That fart sound. He says that fart sound you heard. Is that that's not Midnighter? Is that Midnighter?
Yeah, it was Midnighter.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The fart sound you heard
was
was
a
me.
force field.
Yeah, landing the ship on an island.
Yeah, it was breaking their force field.
Yes. So I mean, even me rereading this thing, I love it. So I mean, granted, I know there are a lot of comics that are like it now. But I still have it in high regard. Like, I'd probably still do 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
The only thing that would be higher for me would be Planetary, more just because
because it's planetary.
Yeah, there's more meaning behind Planetary.
Is that the one with the drummer?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think Planetary is the book that hasn't been.
Did I just not understand any of this? Because I tried to read Planetary too and did not get it.
Planetary.
Huh.
Planetary is it's not an action thing.
Planetary takes a little bit of effort when you're reading it to kind of...
Were you saying I didn't give an effort? I give an effort.
When it gets its hook in you,
it's...
Yes.
There's a moment in Planetary where you're like, Oh, and it varies for everybody, like when that moment is. For me, it took a little while because it's 4 volumes. I think it around volume 2.
So when I first got introduced to Planetary, not to sidetrack here, it was before the series had finished because it had that huge hiatus between issues.
What hiatus between issues? There was no hiatus.
A year and a half between the last 2 issues.
And even then, before then, there were huge hiatuses between. It was gone for a long time. Then they finally brought it back to finish out.
The first 20 were fine, and then 20 to 25 were every other month.
Yeah. And then the last issue was like...
somewhere around there.
I remember the last issue coming out on shelves. You told Ryan Scott, oh yeah, your last issue of Planetary's out. And he's like, what?
It took a long time. It was at least a year and a half.
Yeah, a year and a half.
I think it was more than that.
I have a very vivid memory of being lent the first 2 trades for Planetary, immediately hunting down the issues that were out after that, and then having to wait patiently for more issues.
Yeah, Planetary is one of those funny books where the issue after the trade would always become really expensive, just like Walking Dead is now, because everyone would read up to whatever the current trade is and then jump, I gotta buy the next issue, and that issue would always sell out. So issue 7 and issue 15 would always sell out or whatever. So, Bryce, it's your pick. What do you think?
So,
picture it, 1999.
1999.
Young
I actually
Bryce
read it
Larsen.
in 2001,
2011. Oh.
2015. No, I read it when I was in college. I went to school in LA, and they have an amazing public library system in LA, and they had lots of comic books in the various LA libraries that were all in bikeable distance to each other. I feel like I do this more frequently than I'm comfortable with, but I actually agree with Ryan. Basically, everything he said was kind of what I was going to say, and I'm kind of disappointed in myself about
Didn't mean to steal your thunder?
No.
You didn't hear that little tone in his voice when he said, "Oh, an intellectual comment."
Oh no, that's not what I meant, but that is true. Basically, I had the exact same experience. I remember reading this in college, and I was like, "Oh my god, mind blown! These guys are bad asses. This is awesome." I'm like I'm in my early 20s. I'm going to college. I'm like, "Oh my god, all of these Superman, Batman types are like." Iron Man shaman from fucking Alpha Flight, some barefoot motherfucker, and I don't know if you'd want to call her the chick Terminator from Terminator 3 and Hawkgirl, and the they fight the Mandarin and Darkseid. But the team, they have some bullshit ship that's able to just take them anywhere and transport them anywhere. Like that's not some fucking continuity destroying, or not continuity. I'm sorry. I hate it when they make things too easy to circumvent any sort of difficulty in writing. It's like, oh no, I can just teleport there. It's kind of like Cable, where you're like, this guy has fucking any powers that I want him to. That's fucking bullshit. Anyway,
but you have to admit it was kind of a great in the book when they're using the teleport technology, but then it's kind of used against them.
Yeah,
and all
totally.
of a sudden there's horses.
Yeah,
and they're being mowed down like cavalry.
In old Hamlet guard attire. Anyway, this book was awesome. When I read it, I wouldn't say 11 out of 10, but I was the 10 out of 10 guy when I read it, and I was like, oh my god, this is so good. I should totally revisit this. I wonder how it holds up. It's like Sega Genesis games. It's like I really hope it's going to do well. Loved all the characters. I remember reading it and being like, this is how comic books should be. It's like becoming an adult. It's like if Batman and Superman would act like adults and actually kill the motherfuckers, then we'd have a lot less trouble, and
they'd love each other.
Innocent Earthlings would fucking be alive in a much greater capacity. And I read it this time, dude, and I would say 8 out of 10. I acknowledge everything that all you guys said, which is it was what it was, and this is sort of the turning point for the comics industry. And I actually like your Mario Brothers analogy, where it's like you can't really take away from it. Just like I think Godfather 3 was a good movie, even though it has to be compared to Godfather 1 and 2, and so that's not really fair.
Yeah.
Although that's not the same thing. So anyway, this book was really good. The characters are really good. They're just they're sort of they weren't ahead of their time. They were sort of the launch pad for what would come after them.
They're the start of their time.
They're the start of their time.
I mean, I think from our discussion here, I think this is a good book to kind of get people started on superheroes. Right, where it's not so far back that
dude, I would do Ultimates. So here's the thing about
but you would do Ultimates because it's Marvel.
No, so what I was thinking about what Ryan said about how this is the cornerstone and we wouldn't have the Marvel Cinematic Universe without Authority. I disagree, and it is because I'm a Marvel fanboy. But like, I actually think that this book, like, I was lucky to pick this up in a public library in LA when it came out. Like, people didn't like read this into the factor that people read Ultimates. And so whether you can argue, sure, it like spawned Ultimates, and I'm sure that that's a very valid and probably completely accurate thing, but it doesn't mean that like Avengers wasn't infinitely influential in the comics universe and it was a reaction to the Justice League. Like, just because something is a reaction to something else doesn't mean that that's actually more of what influenced what is now. I think that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is 99.9% from the Ultimates.
Yeah.
Rather than Authority. And you can say we wouldn't have it, but I would also argue that we wouldn't have the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
99.9% from Authority.
I would also argue that we wouldn't have the Marvel Cinematic Universe without the X-Men #1.
Well, no.
Which we wouldn't have without the Grant Morrison X-Men.
Of course, it always goes back. Right,
it always goes back,
right,
is what I'm saying. So I don't think that that's what it's from. I don't mean to take much away from Authority. I just don't think that it's that influential. I don't think that it was given a broad enough audience. Well, because it was kind of like, we know DC.
Authority was a huge...
We know
it was
DC,
one of the
we know Marvel.
It wasn't DC. No, and Authority was one of the best-selling books when it came out. It absolutely was a juggernaut.
Really? So one of the things that I'm suffering from is not knowing anything about the industry, because I was a fan.
So I just have to share a quick story here. One of the very first cons I ever went to, there were two things that I remember from panels I went to. One, when they were talking about, but when Bendis first announced he was taking over the Avengers, just a date like this con that I went to. And I remember specifically they even said, so it's kind of like the Authority, and the other panel I remember going to is talking about the X-Men The End, and them complaining it to Kingdom Come. So it was like I was sitting there kind of going like, ooh, and then of course the X-Men The End came out, and I'm like, this is nothing like that. But but that always kind of speaks to me when they're trying to sell you on new series. You can definitely make an argument that the comics that they're choosing to try and say like is kind of like this pretty much tells you how influential it is in the industry if they're trying to say we're trying to capture this tone for our new book.
I think that's fair.
I think too, this is Hitch, if you're on the art side, this is Hitch as he's about to peak, and Ultimates is the peak. He's right about there. And so like the art, you could see he has those cinematic...
it's Ultimates art.
It's one step down. He's right about there. He has those cinematic panels, but it's not... Ultimates was almost completely 4-panel pages, a big splash page. Ultimates was totally laid out like in that cinematic style. This was like right there. This totally was like he was just about to get there. Which I guarantee why Miller grabbed him, because he's like, well, I'm going to do Authority, but with the Avengers. And
Yeah, that makes sense. So I think that maybe this also is just from we all of us here live in the bubble, and Bryce that read this in college was living outside the bubble.
Sure.
And I don't know if you guys were in or out of the bubble at that time, but I was outside of the bubble very much, and I was lucky to read this because I had no fucking idea what Wildstorm was. I knew Jim Lee and I knew Image, but I didn't know fucking Wildstorm. And I was definitely living outside the bubble and didn't know sort of the repercussions this would have. I did read Ultimates when I was living outside the bubble, and I was like, this is fucking incredible. Although any one of you guys would have been able to tell me, oh, well, you got to read Authority.
So in general, I was outside the bubble, but I had good friends who would pull me into the bubble from time to time.
So I think Lane may have
no comic friends.
Lane may have more specific memory of the situations, but Authority was responsible in past during the Mark Miller run. It got pretty crazy. And this is after the DC purchase. And they actually started editing the book pretty heavily towards the end of the run. It caused a bunch of delay in issues. There was like a fill-in arc by Art Adams do art like a fill-in issue or something.
No, art was supposed to be the regular artist.
Oh,
and
they pulled him out. They pulled it out.
Well, there was issues that got fully edited, and
they straight up canceled an issue, didn't they? Didn't they scrap an issue?
They scrapped one issue.
Sometimes pulling out is the safer choice.
Wait.
Yeah, it was in the middle of the Miller run.
Yeah.
And then that's when Dustin was drawing it. Dustin Nguyen started drawing some of them.
Oh, that's right.
As the fill-in.
Yeah, there was like a rape scene or like an anal sex scene.
It was supposed one of those got Kate.
Yeah.
One of them was I believe
your eyebrows are really high right now.
I think
Bryce.
Swift was raped.
Is that what it was? Yeah. Okay, like I don't have specific memories of it. I remember bits and pieces of it, but I don't remember because it was like the back half of the series, like later half of the series, and then after that, Miller they completely neutered his run, and the book. Lane. You've read them all, so you can tell me it never got back.
So it might have been better if it stayed with Wildstorm, and if Jim Lee never sold it to DC.
That was one opinion. Yeah, a lot of people were saying that. Because of editorial taking over at that once. That Miller started. I didn't really like what happened afterwards, but at the same time, there were other books at Wildstorm that I think would have also been lost if they hadn't been at DC.
Yeah.
Like, at the same time at that, we had Wildcats Volume 2 and 3 with Dustin and Joe Casey, which was, I think, extremely important book for Wildstorm.
When did the Wildcats? Oh no, that was the previous run before Authority with Travis Tress.
Yeah,
that's like issues.
That was the Alan Moore run.
Yeah,
that's another one of Lane's favorite artists.
Yeah.
That's like the 16th through the 20th.
No, Tress. He came in like
Travis
back
came around 12 and only got to about 24. Somewhere around there. And then Alan Moore, and then I think Robinson took over. No, Robinson started, and then Alan Moore.
Yeah.
Now, I've gone to a lot of conventions with Lane, and I know generally all his artists that he loves, they're all Wildstorm inspired. They're all from that group of creators that came at it. Yeah. Well,
Jim Lee had a huge stable, and he nurtured them and kind of cultivated that so-called style of art that became really, really popular.
They had a cool little studio. They had a really, really cool blog. Yeah, I missed dearly that they were posting to regularly. Mm-hmm. It's because of Lane I started collecting commissions, and I started with those guys.
Well, Travis Tress and Dustin Nguyen alone. Those are two awesome artists.
Campbell.
Yeah. Very different, though.
Yes.
Yeah, Jessica Campbell. Very different. And, Humberto Ramos, had he done stuff prior to Crimson? Was that his big first book?
No, he did Impulse before that.
Oh, that's right. Yes. How did I forget Impulse? I forgot about that.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
That's a great run.
Yes.
Is that his first book?
No, he did some
like
smaller books
indie
before
stuff.
that. I think he did a run on Green Lantern or one of the side books for a bit.
Okay.
Didn't he didn't do anything with Liefeld's company, right?
What?
No. Because I see it's weird how some of the Wildstorm guys like Jessica Campbell and Battle Chasers guy Joe Madden, they feel more similar to me in style, and I could see Ramos fitting in there as well. But they're very different than Terasaki and Jim Lee, who had very soft, dark lines, very straight, where those guys definitely were more cartoony, more
but you had all kinds of styles over there. Like Lee Bermejo is like shading everything to the hell of it, right? So you got a lot of styles at that
Did
studio.
Bermejo come out of Wildstorm
too?
Jeez.
Yeah, dude, he's totally from there.
It seems like with the art, there was with Hitch and a couple of those guys, it was more realistic kind of feelings. And then you had Humberto Ramos and J. Scott Campbell, which kind of had the extreme kind of art, very animated kind of style.
Yeah.
And then you had your guys in between, so it was like the wheelhouse kind of was a broad wheelhouse.
They had a great studio going. I mean, they were like, they were happy with each other. They would push each other. It was just a really cool environment. The blog, man. I mean, they were doing competitions. They would like they do an art Iron Chef.
Yeah,
I mean, they were just they were having so much fun, man.
It was funny because I mean, I kind of get everyone, but then Frank Quietly coming into the back half of Authority seems such a weird pick. I mean, I get it. But he's so opposite of so much of the Wildstorm style.
Well, there's a kind of mesh of that kind of realistic and that comic book look, right? That you're kind of going, which Quietly kind of has that. Like he's got kind of the realistic view to it, but also kind of the cartoony or comic book-esque feel to his work. So his work has kind of a blend of both. Where if you take like Hitch, I read Hitch and I'm like, yeah, you can see these as almost movies, visual with like actual characters. I mean, he does a great Palin.
What's great with Brian Hitch is to go back and read the Marvel UK stuff from the 90s, and you can see it. Yeah, you can see his stuff. He did. What did he do?
Death's Head.
Didn't he do the girl? There was.
Yeah, there was another book I forget.
Like Hell's Angels or something on the tip of my tongue. I could see the cover, but I can't remember the name of the title. Is that what it is? I can't remember. But yeah, you see where you can see the start. I mean, Hitch started off as a I'm
Pizza Boy.
No. He started off as a clone of he was Excalibur. Alan Davis, yes, thank you. He was a total Alan Davis clone back in the day. But he really, I think, was it Jim that pushed him in that direction?
So.
Or?
I think he was more just the fact that when he started doing the widescreen stuff, he started doing more background work.
Okay.
Which is something that Alan never really did.
Yeah.
And then, but also at the same time, I think Quietly was a pick.
Yeah.
Like, Miller was given free reign to pick the artist he wanted to work with. So he chose Quietly.
Right.
And then Campbell came up through Wildstorm.
Yeah.
But Ramos and Joe Mad were in the Cliffhanger, but Cliffhanger's all creator-owned.
Right.
They weren't part of Wildstorm. It was a creator-owned imprint.
Right.
They just printed their books.
All right. Well, we are way over time here. Toby, do you got your pick?
I do.
What's your pick?
Shoots.
Let's do it. You've been hemming and hawing back on a couple books.
Yeah, well, I really want to pick an Asterix book, but there's so many goddamn good ones, and I want to pick a good one because I don't know how many times I'll be able to pick Asterix. So I am still choosing between them. So for now, since Brock didn't want to read my manga last time, I'm going to go with Great Teacher Onizuka.
Okay.
GTO
Volume 1.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, the whole book, Brock. I'm challenging you. Read it.
If it's entertaining,
this isn't a triple volume.
No, just the first volume. This time I won't make the mistake to scare Brock away with a phone book-sized book. I will just go with the first volume.
It wasn't scary. I still don't understand. Like Ryan sat there and watched me do watch.
He tried.
I tried. It just didn't catch me, and I literally stopped. I guess right before, but I'm like, no.
It's all good. GTO. All right.
I at least attempted to read that one.
Thank you, Bryce. Thank you for your pick. Thank you, Toby. Thank you for your pick, and we'll go ahead and wrap up here. This is
WonderCon. You guys did it without me, didn't you?
It's been a quadruple-sized episode.
No, we're doing we're officially being a week late.
Well, yeah, we're a week late. So Charlie talked Emerald City.
Yeah.
So
you'll talk WonderCon.
You talk WonderCon next week.
Yeah, not happening. I'm not here.
Oh, you're not here next week, huh?
Yeah, maybe
so
not.
2 weeks is our delay, right?
That's we're still at like a 2-hour podcast right now.
We're almost there. So
I might also not be here the following week.
Yeah, Toby, why don't you give us 5 minutes of WonderCon? We talked a little bit about it, but why don't you give us your...
it was fun. I didn't expect it, actually. I gone in without expectations. I was supposed to go there a day early. Luckily, Lane and his buddy Ronnie were able to take me down because I was super tired, so I hopped in a car. They did a red-eye drive. That was fun. And then we got there in the morning, and Ryan texted me first thing in the morning while I'm eating breakfast. I'm like, yeah, I'm here, man. It was super fun. It was pretty darn big. I mean, I want to say it's bigger than it was in San Francisco. It's the first time
I don't think it's quite twice. We talked about this earlier. But it's like 50,000 to 70,000.
I was quite surprised.
It's huge.
I was quite surprised. The first day I didn't get to see too much. I actually wanted to see quite a few panels, so I didn't really get to see the floor too much. Then I hung out with people I knew, and ended the night with a nice little Orphan Black panel. Then I had some dinner with Lord, our good buddy, and I had some stuff for you from him.
Nice.
So to go in conjunction for our Arrow and Flash finale talk. So there's a little teaser for you guys. And then the second day, I tried to go through the floor quite a bit, and it was actually quite big. I couldn't make I honestly didn't see the whole floor. I mean, sure, we left early and didn't have all the time I wanted, but I rushed it. I got to see a couple of cool artists. I did do the Flash panel though, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. So on the smaller shows, I really do enjoy going in and out of the floor and jumping a panel and come back out, which at San Diego Comic-Con is really not possible. So, for people that are kind of interested in some of this stuff, I do recommend some of the smaller shows instead, just to get your footing in. Because at San Diego Comic-Con, if you want to see a panel, man, I mean, it's basically that's the only thing you do.
That's your day.
Yeah, that's the only thing you do. Here, I mean, some of the guys were like, "Hey, man, you're not gonna make it." I was like, "No, I go a panel early, and I got in very easily, and I saw people come in very easily right as it started. So it's kind of a nice thing." So 5 minutes, less than 5 minutes, huh? Very un-Brycey.
I wish I'd gone because I wanted to see I didn't realize there was going to be a Gotham and Arrow panel, so I would have.
I told you to come. I have passes for you, buddy.
No, we were doing other stuff, so it's fine. That's fine. Next year, I'm sure.
Did we talk about how Caitlin Slow, teased Killer Frost quite a bit?
They talked about that. We knew it was coming at some point.
Yeah, we knew it was coming, but she's saying a lot sooner than we think.
I hope not.
And
the way the show's going, I wouldn't. They
all had little one-word teasers when they wrapped up the panel, and Caitlin Danielle did say Frosty for her teaser.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right.
No, it was a lot of fun.
That means everyone got a Frosty freeze coupon.
Glad you had fun. Yeah, I'll try to. I may try to go next year. So.
Well, next year it's in LA, right?
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, right as I got used to this, right? I'm like, okay, I'm planning. This is the freaking hotel. I was like scouting everything out. Like, this is where I'll eat. This is where I'm going to sleep. And I'm going to do it with Disneyland. I'm going to get extra days off, which didn't happen this year, even though I had them already approved. I'm going to do it with Disneyland. I'm going to do it with Ryan, and it's going to be all good. And then the announcement. Actually, I saw your tweet, right, where you're like, it's going to be in LA. I'm like, damn it, Ryan is trolling again. I hate that guy. Right? And then oh wait, they're actually moving to LA.
Yeah.
So I thought you were being stupid again, just pissing me off. I know some of your tweets are geared just at me, man. So no, I was like a bummed. I mean, I actually remember me and Lane did some LA cons. It was Wizard Worlds at the time, I think. Actually, I think that's when I won the film festival, wasn't it?
Yep.
That's the last time we were there, when I won the film festival. I think I've
been there since then.
Okay, yeah.
Time together
yeah. So I do remember it being LA. I actually think Anaheim had the San Diego kind of feel to it, where you're kind of away from the world. So going to a big city like LA, I'm not so sure I'm liking that, but we'll see.
Yeah.
It's only for 1 year, so who knows? They might go back.
Yeah, I'm curious how it's going to work out. So
yeah,
we'll see. We'll see what they do with it. All right. Well, if you got some more, Toby, you may be gone for a few weeks, but
yeah,
hopefully
one for sure. Second one maybe.
Yeah, hopefully we get you back in. Think of anything else we can talk. Charlie, don't die. I'm gonna wrap up this podcast now. Thank you, everyone, and thank you. I hope you enjoyed this super, super long episode. This episode and all our previous episodes can be found at geekbox.net and comicsconspiracy.biz. Discuss this episode of forums at geekbox.net and the Geekbox Facebook group. Which Lane, actually, this is probably a better idea. Lane, why don't you take some awesome pictures of your art and post it on the Facebook group for Geekbox and the Comic Conspiracy Podcast? That's
By the way, I really tried to read the Authority book. I even took it out of my backpack while Lane and Ronnie were driving, so I could read it in the car.
You fell asleep?
I just fell asleep, man. I was like on the dot. I mean, come on. Red Eye Drive, not flight. Yeah. Drive down to LA on Friday night, right? I barely slept that night, obviously, because I always go see people. I wake up early, and then we drive back.
When we were driving back, I was like praying for Kettleman City so I could pull over.
Yeah,
and get some
that's
food.
a stop, man. That's a stop.
That's a stop. My eyes were just like, oh my god, please let it be the next day.
Oh, dude, I fell asleep so many times. I'm so thankful that Lane and Ronnie took me, because I was just laid out in the back, and I would have conversations with them, but pass out like halfway through, and we come back in, say a word or two. And they say I sleep talk It's a little scary. Ronnie woke up in the middle of the night thinking I was talking to Lane. So I had full-on conversation.
This is when you need to record him.
Yeah, I had full-on, per Ronnie, I have full-on conversations with myself about standing in lines and where to go.
I believe it. Digital.comicsconspiracy.biz. Go there and buy some digital comics from us. Patreon.com/comicconspiracy. Go support the podcast. Conspiratobrock.com. That's Brock's blog.
Yep. Video pull lists are up every Tuesday or Wednesday morning, early.
Nice.
So,
Comicsatthekind.com. That's Omar's blog, our former member here. Go check him out. Infinite Long Box Podcast and The Wonders in the Fourth Dimension. Both the Charlie's podcast. Go listen to those. I'm Ryan Higgins Ryan on Twitter. Brock is Brock Sager. Omar is Comics at the Kind. Bryce Larsen is Larsen Bryce. Toby's Toby XI. Charlie's Insanity and Chaos. If you answered any of those cable quizzes, go
send it to any of us.
Send us to any of those. Yeah. Lane is not on Twitter, so there you go.
You know what today is?
What is today?
It's tomorrow when that awesome Nightwing and Oracle book is coming out.
Yes, Toby's favorite book of the year.
Of all time.
It's on the shelf behind you.
Announcing it right now. It might be my Patreon pick.
Don't forget to go listen to Geekbox, Comedy Button, Good Job, Brain, and the All Talk podcast. That's it. It's a super long episode, so we're done. Goodbye, everyone. See you next week.